Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Rady from Rady's Rise. We're back here at Walker Ford, Clearwater, Florida, and guess what? I have that one SUV that's been in Ford's lineup for quite some time. It's this right here. This is it. This is a 2023 Ford Explorer. This particular one is an XLT trim. But before we get into this midsize rear-wheel drive platform SUV, let's talk about what's going on here. Back many decades ago, the Ford Explorer was born and really was part of that game-changing motion for the auto industry, where now today it seems that SUVs are still running rampant. Crossover SUVs, big SUVs, small SUVs, and everything in between. Now the Explorer has grown in size, and this category is known as the midsize SUV segment. So what kind of competition are we looking at? We're looking at some stiff competition. The Honda Pilot, the Toyota Highlander, and of course, that upcoming redesign of the Chevrolet Traverse. Now, it may not sound like a big deal, but the Explorer really has had some ups and downs over the years. Ford was really hoping that this was going to be their big comeback. Now, there's supposed to be changes coming in the upcoming year or so, but what I want to find out is, if you're looking for a mid-size three-row SUV, do you go Ford Explorer, or should you go with something tried and true like the Honda Pilot? Let's go ahead, let's dive in and find out. Right off the bat, the platform. You have that different balance of the chassis being rear-wheel drive. Yes, you could still get your all-wheel drive, but it makes a world of difference, not only in the way that it looks, but also in the way it drives. At the front of the business on this XLT trim, you'll notice that we have LED headlights, LED turn signals, and daytime running lamps. Working your way down, we have more LED lighting and functional corner air curtains. Nice to have the functionality, and I like the way it's just flat black around the surrounding area. Now, as we come across that famous blue oval Ford badge on the XLT, you're gonna get some very simple horizontal chrome bars, and then the rest of it is gonna be this gloss black design, clean, straightforward. And I definitely, when they came out with this redesign from the previous generation, I really do like the overall look. And it's going to be interesting to see where they take that look. Now, working your way down, more functionality in the center, even on the lower portion with the flat black and that metallic silver. But the great news is you don't have a ton of gloss black at the front end of the business. Now, as you rise up, just like many of the other Ford hoods on the different vehicles, you're going to get this C-shaped indentation, that sparkly rapid red color. And then as we come around the bend, what are we working with? Wheel and tire stuff. So this is an XLT trim. This is like a mid-grade trim. What you're gonna find are these metallic silver Y-spoke wheels or V-spoke wheels all the way around to 20-inch wheel, 255 on the width, 55 series sidewall. Now the interesting thing to remember is if you're comparing this to a Pilot, Honda Pilot is front-wheel drive based. So that's really gonna affect how the vehicle drives, but we'll get more to that when we go on throttle. Now, one of the things I'm not the biggest fan of, but it is an XLT trim, is the flat black around the fender opening. The good news is it doesn't go too high, but I feel like this is a look that, unless it's an off-road spec, which they do have an off-road spec of this Explorer, it just kind of, I don't know, makes it a little less fancy. And I know this isn't a top trim, but still, if it was all color matched, especially with Rapid Red is one of my favorite colors, looks great under the Florida sun. Now, as we rise up, you got the Explorer name actually in the headlight housing. We work our way down, we have flat black on the mirror caps, flat black with the Explorer name and just a little bit of shiny chrome on the side, and then we are gonna get color matched door handles, and we have our raised roof rails. I like a raised roof rail more. It's easier to get tie downs and different straps when you have like cargo carriers up there or a kayak holder. From the side, you see that mid-size SUV shape. And then when we get towards the rear, nice size on the quarter window. I like the way it flows into the rear glass. And then on the tail end of the business, what do we got going on here? We got our shiny chrome with the Explorer name. We do have an exposed wiper, but I'm not gonna zonk it because If you look at a Pilot also has an exposed wiper. XLT on the badging, and then working your way all the way down, just a simple, clean design, silver, just like at the front end of the business. No fake exhaust, nothing like that, just a simple, clean design. But why don't we go ahead, let's pop the hood and see what's powering our Explorer XLT. Hey guys, we got the hood popped. You do have a prop rod. I am gonna zonk that. Underneath the hood is gonna be your base engine. Now the big difference between an Explorer and say the Pilot is Honda Pilot, you have one engine and one engine only. That's a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6. When you go Explorer, there's many different engine choices to explore. When you go XLT, you're getting that standard engine. So what is it? It's a 2.3 liter inline four turbocharged engine, making 300 horsepower, 310 pound-feet of torque. Just like the Honda, it's made it to a 10-speed automatic transmission. Even with the base engine, 0 to 60 in 6 seconds flat. That's actually faster than the Honda Pilot. Ours is rear-wheel drive, but you can get all-wheel drive. Top speed is governed to 113 miles per hour. The vehicle weighs 4,565 pounds, MPGs 19 in the city, 22 on the highway, and when it comes to towing, 5,600 pound towing capacity with this engine setup. But why don't we go ahead, we don't have a V6, but let's fire up this four banger and see it in motion. All right, guys, we are inside this ruby red metallic, or I should say rapid red technically if you want to be technical, Ford Explorer XLT. I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, I'm looking for a midsize SUV, and you're right. There's so many different options. I'm really getting a headache. How much is this Explorer XLT? Very good question. I'm here for you. Take a couple ibuprofen and watch the rest of this review, and all will be well. MSRP for this particular one, the way that it's optioned, is right around $46,000. Let's see what you get for the money. To the door panels. Clean style, soft touch material up top. I'm digging the silver. It kind of just brings a little extra something something. You got that contrast stitching, no gloss black, which is great. Door pocket is a good size. You could get two big Bufords and some Checkers fries down there and a banana milkshake. That's Steven's favorite. Going from the door panel to the dash, soft touch. You can see it's getting a little dated, this orange peel style. And this trim, it's okay, but the problem is this. Like, who in their right mind thought that this gap here is acceptable? That's a big zonk when it comes to fit and finish. Maybe if I go like that. There we go. Now it looks so much better. Still a big gap, but that's what it looks like. I'm not digging it. Now, infotainment system, this is your standard one. The optional is a 10-inch, and it's that portrait style. It looks really funky in this area. Even though this is only 8 inches, once upon a time, 8 inches used to be big. I mean, ask your best friends with their infotainment system screens. Now, this is what you get, but it looks a little cleaner than the 10-inch. I can tell you that much. It is, though, what's weird, the older Sync 3 operating software. So you do have your navigation, you have your Apple CarPlay and all that, but it's the older software. Let me throw it into reverse. Backup camera takes up all 8 inches. It's just the challenge is it's a little on the grainy side. But I'm sure that's gonna come when they make a redesign. Now you do have your Twinkie tray, 2 golden delicious cream-filled treats right there. Some silver. You have real knobs and switch gear for your dual climate control, 3 stages of heated seats, heated steering wheel, and then the silver trim covering the center console. Now you open this door up, you get enough room in here for 2 jelly-filled Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin', USB-C, USB-A, and a home power source. There's no wireless charging in there, so that's why it's okay to get the jelly-filled ones. If there were wireless charging, I would not go jelly-filled. I would just go with like maybe a glazed. This aluminum trim is nice, 2 cup holders. This is gonna control that 10-speed automatic. You got your mode selector, traction control, and then of course, the blue oval, the Ford key fob, remote start, Another little area here to put your phone. Normally this is on a higher trim wireless charging, but in here, this is where you would put a pack of Las Vegas playing cards. So when you're doing your blackjack and your poker, you could use your own deck of cards. Soft material with the stitching. Open it up, you got a felt line tray where you could put your iPhone 47 Gold Edition. You got a 12 volt and enough room in there. I would say you could put 7 Rubik's Cubes. So if you and your friends want to have a challenge to see who's the fastest at solving the Rubik's Cube, you could have 7 of them in there. So get 6 friends, if you're lucky enough to have 6 friends, and have a little competition. Friendly competition. The seats, the leather material, the stitching, they're simple, but they're clean. I'm okay with it. You do have, of course, your power adjustment on the passenger side. I have power adjustment on the driver's side. No sunroof on this particular example. But why don't you come over to the business end? I want to show you behind this leather wrapped steering wheel in the Explorer. All right, guys, business time behind the wheel. Plenty of room inside. Seats are comfy, especially with getting them adjusted just right with that lower lumbar. Steering wheel, the leather is fine. The horn button, Ford has got to come up with some new horn buttons. Whoever designs these needs to lose, I don't want to say their job, but maybe some of their status with the company, because I would like some stitching or something on it. Flat black on the switchgear, manual tilting and telescoping steering wheel. I do like the way it's got a little bugle. You could play taps with the horn, with the little bugle on both sides there. But anyways, back to the serious stuff. You have analog tach, speedometer, and then that large digital display that gives you a plethora of different things that you could display in the center stack there. Clean graphics, nothing wrong with that. But why don't we go ahead, let's get to the mid-row, because I want to see if your passenger is going to be happy that you went Explorer over Pilot. Let's go ahead and find out. All right, guys, mid-row time. And what's nice is you're going to get plenty of space in here. I tell you, one area that Ford blows the Pilot right out of the water are these captain's chair armrests. Nice and beefy, like the stitching. Backs of the seats, leather all the way around. You got nice large pockets. What I would put back here are like 4 or 5 copies of Mad Libs. Tell your kids to put the damn phones away. Do something with their mind. As a kid, I love Mad Libs, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, definitely use the interwebs to find out and get yourself some Mad Libs. On the back, it's interesting. XLT trim, you don't have rear AC, but they kind of show you where it would be. They're like, look, if you would have went a higher trim, you would actually have knobs and controls for the AC back here. So kind of funny how they did that. You do have 2 USB-Cs and a 12 volt, plus your 2 cup holders. Flip it out of the way. Sitting back here, I'm 6 feet tall, plenty of room. Seats recline, and of course, they do the sliding action, and you do have your AC vents nicely placed on the upper right-hand side here, or if you're on that side, it'd be the upper left-hand side. But let's get into the third row and see if it's cramped back there in the Explorer. All right, guys, third row time, and one thing I could tell you, the new Pilot definitely does it better on the third row. The seat is so low, I almost feel like I'm sitting on the floor back here, and it's just like one flat piece of wood wrapped with a little bit of cushion, but you can see how high my knees are. I do have a little bit of room, and the good news is that the seat can move a little forward without squishing the mid-row passenger. There's just not a lot of bells and whistles back here. You got some cup holders, you got a place for a churro, one of those Costco churros, and then you have your AC vents up in the headliner. But other than that, low frills when it comes to not only the XLT trim, but also low on the seating position in here in this third row. But let's check out the cargo area and see if Ford can pick up the pace. All right, guys, cargo area time, real simple. Hit the button underneath the R for Rady's Rides, and guess what? There is your cargo space with the third row up. Now, if you want some numbers, I got numbers. That's 18 cubic feet of space with the third row up. Fold the third row down, that's gonna give you 48 cubic feet. Fold the mid row down, that's gonna give you 87.8 cubic feet of space. Let's see what we're working with here. In the back, you do have a 12 volt. So if your kids want you to go to the beach with them and they have that big, huge raft, save your lungs, get yourself an electric air compressor, and you can inflate your raft very easily right at the back of the Explorer. Underneath, we got tons of storage. So get the Ruffles, get the Pringles, get the Lay's. Me personally, I'm a big Pringles guy. I have always loved Pringles. It's just something special about getting your chip out of a cylinder can rather than just a bag. Plus, I would always challenge my brothers and sisters to how many could you take from the can and put into your mouth and successfully swallow them without dying of choking. But you got plenty of storage. To get the seats down, very simple. You're gonna go like this and then just let it go. Look, it's like, ee. There is your maximized space with the third row down, and then of course, that mid row could go down as well. But you know what? I'm about finding out how this XLT drives, especially for you. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's go on throttle in our Explorer. All right, guys, we're leaving Walker Ford. We're in this 2023 Ford Explorer XLT. I'm actually gonna come to a stop real quick. Nobody's behind us. I have it in sport mode. And if you're ready, I'm ready. On throttle, here we go. It's really interesting because you would think the 2.3 liter turbocharged engine wouldn't be enough oomph for this size vehicle. With the 300 horsepower and the great amount of torque, it's actually pretty snappy. So much so that it's faster than the V6 Pilot 0 to 60. Now there is a little bit of boost lag, but the 10 speed does shift very, very well. The other downside to having a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine is gonna be it's a little bit more buzzy, whereas the V6 is a smoother running engine. Everything is actually nicely laid out in here, so that's the good news. The bad news is like I said, some of this trim is just not very well thought out, but it's gonna be interesting to see what they bring next to this platform. Visibility out the front is great. Wish that it had some type of panoramic sunroof or even just a standard sunroof, but for the front row and the mid row, things are good. Third row, things are not so good because it's really tight back there, but you do have your different modes. And what's interesting is that I think Ford does a great job of differentiating what the different modes are all about. And of course, you got the Eco, you got the Sport, which we're in, the slippery when wet mode, all those different settings, depending on what you're trying to accomplish on any given day with your Ford Explorer XLT. Rear wheel drive, remember, is gonna give you a different overall balance and feel, especially when it comes to the handling department. But just doing some normal driving, it is actually pretty smooth. The seats are comfy. I do like how supportive the seats are, but there's also plenty of comfort to them as well. But I think the other thing that you're gonna like is that the overall size of the vehicle, you know, if you've ever been in an Expedition or a full-size SUV, this really does feel more comfortable to drive from a size standpoint. All right, guys, pulling away from the light. Being in that sport mode, it does definitely have a difference in how it shifts, how the throttle sensitivity is, and how the steering sensitivity is as well. But being able to pass vehicles, like I said, very surprising that this EcoBoost 2.3 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder has enough power to get this Explorer out of its own way. But suspension has been nicely done. This chassis is really where they did the work, especially compared to the previous generation. And no matter if you stick with the standard rear-wheel drive or go all-wheel drive, it's going to provide some really nice handling characteristics and driving dynamics. But let's see how she handles in a turn. Got a little bit of a U-turn here that we can make to really kind of showcase the handling of that rear-wheel drive. Even the way in sport mode, how the steering stiffens up, it's actually really, really nice balance. Like I said, between the different modes, you could really tell the difference between them. And having power seats for both people up front is a nice welcome feature on an XLT trim. But if you're ready, I'm ready. On throttle, here we go. Nice. Going into this left-hand bend here, very composed. Feels good. And don't worry, if you've never been in a vehicle with 20-inch wheels, the ride is not harsh whatsoever. They've done a lot of great work with the tires to help with the harshness from going with such a large wheel. But it's nice to see on the XLT trim, you get some 20-inch wheels. But going down the highway, very smooth, very composed. Little bit of wind noise because of the raised roof rails. But other than that, very smooth going down the road, especially with the 10-speed and what that does for lowering your RPM. I mean, right now, I'm in sport mode and we're turning about 1900 RPM. So you put that into comfort or normal, that's gonna drop it even more. So there's normal, and then it just takes another little dive to around 1600 RPM. But I'm hoping that this has been a good overall review of this Explorer XLT trim. We're gonna get back to Walker Ford and wrap this one up, so I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, it's been another hot and heavy kind of day out here. Not because of anything with the Explorer, just because Mother Nature is really pushing us to our limits when it comes to temperature and humidity. But I definitely gotta thank Frank Walker, Weston Walker, Tracy, Mark, the Gooch, and everybody else for getting us access to one of their last 2023 Ford Explorer XLTs. Let me know what you think. Are you going Ford Explorer? Are you gonna go Honda Pilot? Let me know down in that comment section. But if you're new to the channel and you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you, it's worthwhile coming back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Ladies Rides family. Of course, we gotta thank Stephen Flood Photography. He actually had a little bit of reminiscing because back when he was in high school, his favorite Explorer was Hernando Cortez. So I'm glad we could relive those memories together, Stephen, for you. Show him some love in the comment section. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.